During my husband's funeral, the woman he had an affair with stood up in the midst of the service, faced the audience, and declared he never loved her. She was referring to me. Her voice resonated throughout the church as if she belonged there completely. Her words lingered in the atmosphere, intense and piercing, akin to a blow I was forbidden to respond to. The room became quiet. All eyes were on me. Some with compassion. Some are in disbelief. Some were simply observing to see how I would respond. However, I remained still. I remained silent. I sat there, gazing at the woman who had taken my husband's heart, or what little remained of it. My son's hand rested in mine. My mother's grip grew firmer on my shoulder. My entire being felt like it was on the verge of bursting. Yet I remained motionless. What I understood, which she did not, was that the narrative was far from finished. A few moments later, our family lawyer, Mr. Henry Tate, approached the front of the room with a composed demeanor. He grasped a small wooden box with both hands. All eyes were on him, uncertain whether this was a segment of the service or an unexpected announcement. He turned to her, the mistress, and said without a moment's pause, "He left this just for you." She accepted the box from him as if it were a present. As if she had achieved a victory. She opened it with ease. Then she let out a scream. Prior to the funeral, I remained composed. I was unable to. Not suitable for him. Not at this time. Nathan had been gone for 6 days. An automobile collision. Road glistening from the rain. In the late hours of the night. They claimed it was immediate, but those specifics were irrelevant to me. The silence that ensued was what truly held significance. The type of silence that lacks tranquility, merely oppressive. The morning of the funeral is etched in my memory. The aroma of coffee was tempting, yet I couldn't bring myself to take a sip. The manner in which my mother continually adjusted her pearls, as if they provided her with something to grasp onto. The sound of Lucas, my 10-year-old son, zipping up his little black jacket, attempting to play it cool as if this were just another adult gathering. As if he were unaware that his world had split in two. "You look beautiful," my mom said gently as she attached a silver pin to my coat. As a widow ought to. I chose not to respond. I gazed into the mirror and hardly recognized my reflection. Hair secured neatly. Cosmetics concealing the shadows beneath my eyes. Lips adorned in the same hue I chose for our wedding day. It seemed like a harsh prank. How I had once donned this same color with hope in my heart, and now I wore it as if it were armor. The journey to the church was serene. I found myself nestled between my mother and Lucas in the back seat of her vintage Buick. He held on to my hand the entire time, yet I sensed his questions humming just below the surface. He never inquired about the accident since the day it occurred. He continually inquired whether Dad had truly loved him. That was the aspect that caused the deepest pain. Upon our arrival, the first thing that caught my attention was the church's impressive attendance. I was surprised by the number of people. I was curious about how many of them truly knew Nathan. The authentic Nathan. The man I had loved, indeed, but also the man who deceived me, who wore a smile while quietly dismantling parts of me without my knowledge. Many arrived with casseroles and expressions of sympathy, while others brought hushed tones and furtive looks. We found ourselves at the front, right beside the flowers I had chosen days before. Elegant lilies and pristine white roses. He despised them, yet I remained indifferent. The service was intended for him, but it was also for me. This is my moment to bid farewell, even though I wasn't entirely sure what I was parting from, the man he truly was or the man I believed him to be. While the organ filled the air with its melodies, I surveyed the room. Friends, family, colleagues, and even some of Nathan's old high school buddies I hadn't encountered in years. However, I then caught sight of her. Initially, she lingered near the back, positioned under the archway as if contemplating her entrance. Slender, adorned in a red dress that sparkled with every movement. She shone brightly amidst the dullness of black and gray. Delilah Hart. I was already familiar with it. I had come across her name previously. On receipts, on hotel invoices, on a necklace he purchased one Christmas when I received a sweater. And now she had arrived. I leaned in closer to my mother and whispered, "She has arrived." My mom didn't inquire about who. She was not obligated to. Her lips pressed together as she extended her hand towards mine. Delilah strolled down the aisle with purpose, as if she were the rightful protagonist in this narrative. Our eyes connected for just a brief moment. They carried no shame, only a sense of entitlement, as if she had come to gather something that was rightfully hers. I sensed Lucas's gaze on her as well, puzzled, not understanding why his mother had suddenly tensed up next to him. I gently ran my fingers through his hair, placed a soft kiss on the crown of his head, and murmured, "Just pay attention to the lovely things people say about Daddy." He nodded, still too young to grasp the deceptions that grown-ups share at funerals. As the pastor started to speak, my gaze was fixed on Nathan's photograph resting on the altar. It was the one I selected, the one where he appeared the most joyful. I recall taking it. We visited Savannah on a family trip shortly after Lucas's arrival. Nathan was either genuinely laughing at something Lucas did or perhaps just putting on an act. I gazed at that photo, attempting to recall the feeling of loving him without any uncertainty. I sought to experience something pure, something comforting, yet all that enveloped me was the sense of betrayal hidden beneath the sorrow. As Delilah sat a few rows behind me, crossing her legs and flicking her hair as if she were waiting for a spotlight, I had a realization. Today was not meant to focus on closure. It was set to explore truth and pain, and perhaps, if fortune smiled upon me, freedom. The pastor was in the middle of her sentence when she stood up. Delilah Hart, adorned in red as if it were a festive occasion, rose in the midst of the bustling church and faced the front with a serene demeanor that hinted at the turmoil to come. Her heels clicked sharply against the wooden floor as she stepped forward. Individuals shifted in their chairs. A handful murmured her name. Some might have encountered her previously, perhaps at Nathan's professional gatherings or while out in public. Though others were unfamiliar with her, they sensed an unsettling presence, a tension palpable in the air. The pastor hesitated, looking perplexed. He turned to me for guidance, uncertain whether this was a deliberate homage. I provided him with nothing. Delilah took action without hesitation. She faced the pews and raised her chin. "I realize that some of you may not be familiar with me," she declared, her voice resonating throughout the entire sanctuary. "However, I understood Nathan more deeply than any of you ever could." Individuals adjusted their positions in their chairs. My mother leaned in and whispered sharply, "We need to put an end to this." I said no. Allow her to speak. I was curious to discover the narrative she had crafted for her life. I was curious about the lengths she would go to in order to alter the truth. Delilah placed one hand on her chest and said, "I was in his life for 5 years. 5. And not behind closed doors. He shared all the details with me. He was very unhappy. He felt so confined. How he was unable to be his true self at home." Several individuals inhaled sharply. People turned their gaze away from me. Delilah's voice trembled as if she believed she was the one in mourning. She added that he mentioned he only stayed for his son. Not due to his affection for her. She gazed directly at me when she spoke those words. Her eyes held no trace of apology. Simply prevail. As if she was convinced she had triumphed. I remained unperturbed. Yet within, I was aflame. Lucas pulled on my hand. "Mommy, why is that woman saying that?" He spoke softly. I held his hand tightly. "Just let it go, sweetheart." The room descended into an unsettling silence. Everyone was at a loss for what to do. The pastor attempted to intervene. "Excuse me, this truly isn't," but before he could complete his thought, a voice from the opposite side of the room interrupted the atmosphere. "Miss Hart," said Henry Tate, our family lawyer, as he rose and started to walk slowly down the aisle. Everyone focused their attention on him. He grasped a small wooden box in his hands. Refined. Simple. It resembles a jewelry case, though it's more substantial. More compact. Delilah stood still. Her expression changed subtly. Perplexed. Then intrigued. Mr. Tate made his way to the front, paused just before the pulpit, and faced her. Nathan provided detailed instructions in his will. He spoke with a sense of ease. This has been requested for delivery to you. Today. In a public manner. Delilah opened and closed her eyes rapidly. Her arms fell to her sides. For the first time since she entered, she appeared uncertain. However, she accepted the box. Gradually. As if an individual is being honored with a prestigious accolade. I observed her fingers glide along the rim of the lid. Her nails matched her dress, both a deep wine red. At that moment, the church fell silent once more. Not in sorrow, but in eager expectation. An atmosphere of tension enveloped everyone present in the room. People leaned in closer in their seats. My mother sat stiffly beside me. Lucas remained motionless. Even the pastor took a step back. Observing. Delilah cast a final look in my direction. Confident and composed. Next, I opened the box. What did she expect? I will never find out. Perhaps a letter. A ring. A final declaration of love. However, what she received was something completely different. Her gaze fell upon it, and she turned ashen. Her mouth parted slightly, as if attempting to articulate something, yet no words emerged. Suddenly, she slammed the lid down and released a scream that pierced the silence. An unrefined, primal noise. Beyond mere surprise. It was fury. In pain. Embarrassment. She let the box fall to the floor, recoiling as if it had scalded her, and staggered down the aisle. Gasps erupted as she left the room. The door banged shut behind her, producing a loud sound that reverberated through the windows. The box was positioned at the front. Pristine. Mr. Tate glanced at me for a moment before nodding his head. A subtle, personal indication. I didn't check it out. I had no need to. I was already aware of what lay within. Nathan had meticulously planned this. He had deceived me during his life, yet in his passing, he revealed one last truth. A situation from which she couldn't break free. And one I could convey without uttering a single word. The evening prior to the funeral, I found myself at my kitchen table alongside Mr. Tate, the lawyer whom Nathan had relied on for many years. The house was serene, with only the soft hum of the refrigerator and the steady ticking of the clock on the wall breaking the silence. Lucas was resting peacefully upstairs. My mother was in the guest room, reciting the rosary for the third time that day. Mr. Tate opened Nathan's will and smoothly slid it across the table. I did not go for it. He remarked that there was something unusual. A provision Nathan included just prior to his passing. A box was left for someone named Delilah Hart. Are you aware of who that is? I chuckled unexpectedly. Not lacking in humor. It feels more like incredulity. Oh, I'm familiar with her. He observed me intently, attempting to assess if I was all right. I was not. However, I had ceased to anticipate that I would be. I leaned in closer. What's inside the box? Mr. Tate paused. An image captured in time. And a note. Written by hand. Enclosed within the box. He requested that it be delivered during the service. In a public manner. He was quite precise. I gazed at the wood grain on the table, reflecting on how this man, my husband, had created one last performance. Even in death. One final element of control. One last message. Did he truly want her to witness it in front of the entire crowd? I inquired. Mr. Tate acknowledged with a nod. His precise words were, I want her to hear the truth in a way that she can't distort it. A part of me felt unwell. Another part experienced a sense of vindication. I gazed up at Mr. Tate. Go ahead and do it. He appeared taken aback. Are you certain? I said no. Go ahead and do it regardless. I had devoted a significant part of my life holding back my thoughts, maintaining harmony for the sake of how things looked. For my son's benefit. However, tranquility founded on silence is merely a deception unfolding gradually. I was finished with deception, even if it meant allowing Nathan to reveal the truth through the remnants he left in his wake. That night, I was wide awake. I reclined in bed, gazing up at the ceiling. Reflecting on all that I had given up to become his wife. I had gone to great lengths to prove my worth. I took responsibility for the gap that had formed between us. I found myself questioning what it was about me that led him to seek comfort in another's embrace. However, the truth eluded me. It resided within him. In his decisions. He wielded charm as if it were currency and treated loyalty as though it were a leash. By morning, I had come to my conclusion. I would avoid confronting Delilah. I would remain composed and not create a disturbance. If she wanted to, I would let her speak. Allow her to take center stage and weave whatever dream she wished to embrace. I was aware of what lay ahead. I chose my outfit with intention that day. It's not meant for him. For me. I put on the black suit he always disapproved of. He mentioned that it made me appear overly serious. I slipped on the heels I hadn't worn since my job interview 5 years ago. I gathered my hair back firmly and applied the lipstick I used to wear when I still thought he cared for me. I aimed to present myself as someone who had already endured the most challenging experiences. As Delilah entered the church with an air of confidence, I remained unfazed. As she rose and proclaimed that Nathan never loved me, I remained silent. Not due to fear. But I was finished battling phantoms with my words. I decided to let her speak. Allow her to strut, smile, and feel as though she possesses the upper hand. Allow her to think she was the treasure he held dearest within him. I was aware of the contents of that box. Nathan's truth was harsh. It lacked any sense of nobility or redemption. It was harsh in its truthfulness. The note he left for her was brief. Just one sentence. However, it was sufficient to dismantle all that she believed they possessed. Mr. Tate had presented it to me. I have read it once. Just a single time. For Delilah. For the years I took from both of you. I have never had feelings for you. I just needed you to feel desired when I knew I didn't earn it. He did not write me a letter. No need for an apology. No explanation is provided. Perhaps that was his ultimate affront. Or his subtle recognition that he owed me more than mere words could express. Regardless, I no longer required anything from him. I granted Mr. Tate the go-ahead. Allow her to open the box. It's time for the truth to be heard clearly. At times, silence holds immense strength. At times, allowing someone to reveal their true self can bring more satisfaction than any revenge you might devise. The atmosphere within the church shifted instantly as her fingers brushed against the lid. It was more than just silence. It was filled with anticipation. It was as if the whole room sensed an impending change, yet remained unaware of its nature. Eyes shifted back and forth between me, Delilah, and the box she held. Lucas nestled closely against me. My mother remained completely still since the lawyer stepped forward. Delilah stood at the front, surrounded by white lilies, embodying the moment while my husband smiled, reflecting a life he had already tarnished. She cradled the wooden box gently, as if it were a treasured relic. I was curious whether she believed there would be a ring within, or perhaps a letter revealing that he had always loved her. Perhaps she thought he had abandoned me in death just as she believed he had in life. However, Nathan wasn't particularly tidy. He was disorganized. His truth consistently carried more weight than his lies. She unlatched the box with deliberate care, as if she wished to relish every second of the experience. Then she noticed it. Initially, she remained unresponsive. She simply gazed within. Her fingers lingered above the contents, motionless. Her expression remained unchanged. No emotional smile. No abrupt intake of breath. Only tranquility. It was as though her mind couldn't accept the reality her eyes were presenting. Then it broke. Her lips parted. Her eyes grew wide. She retrieved a solitary photograph. It was an authentic capture. She and Nathan are smiling on a beach, arms wrapped around one another. I had never encountered it before, yet I instantly recognized that it wasn't one of their secret meetings. It was undoubtedly something she embraced with pride. Thinking it held greater significance than it actually did. She flipped it over. That's when she produced the sound. No surprise. Not a tear. A piercing cry. A single, jarring noise that cut through the whole space. The type of scream that escapes when the foundation of a life built on deception crumbles in an instant. She let the photograph slip from her fingers and stepped back unsteadily. Her heels teetered. The box struck the ground. The lid swings open. She gazed at me, her eyes brimming with rage, uncertainty, and sorrow. However, I remained still. Mr. Tate moved ahead and retrieved the dropped photograph, taking care to remain silent. A woman in the second row stood up and asked, "What's going on?" Delilah turned, her face flushed and her chest heaving. He was not truthful with me. He expressed his love for me. He mentioned that he was departing from her. Soft murmurs spread through the congregation. A few individuals shook their heads. Some huddled closer, whispering as if their chatter held more significance than sorrow. She grasped her chest, searching for someone, anyone, to rescue her from the humiliation creeping over her skin. She was utterly devastated. She was laid bare. Her whole essence. Her significance in Nathan's life. Revealing oneself in the presence of unfamiliar faces. Then she took an action that caught me off guard. She approached me. Just one step. 2, then 3. Her eyes fixed on mine, fierce and quivering. I rose to my feet, deliberately positioning Lucas behind me while my hands settled on the pew. "Why is that?" she inquired. Her voice shattered like fragile glass beneath my feet. What could have prompted him to act this way towards me? I gazed at her for what seemed like an entire minute. Then I stated, with clarity and composure, because he did it to me first. Then, I took my seat again. She did not respond. She simply remained still, her eyes fluttering as if she had just been struck. Her arms fell to her sides as she turned to walk away. Her heels resonated more intensely this time. Not precise. Feeling a lack of pride. Simply inconsistent and unpredictable. She pushed the church doors wide and disappeared into the bright sunlight. All eyes were on them. There are some people at the door. Some at the box. And a few directed at me. I didn't provide them with anything. No tears. No smile. No quiet, I warned you. I had no more to demonstrate. Nathan's voice went unheard that day. Yet his message resonated more profoundly than any eulogy could. He departed, leaving her only with the truth. And in doing so, he finally provided me with the one thing he was never able to give while he was alive. Transparency. Following the funeral, I chose not to attend the reception. I allowed the guests to leave, their gazes weighed down by unspoken thoughts they lacked the courage to express. They offered gentle nods, faint smiles, and brief embraces. Some expressed superficial sympathy regarding how grief can lead to unusual behavior. Acting as if they hadn't just seen a woman reveal her emotions in public. Allow them to speak. I accompanied Lucas to the car. He remained silent, holding tightly to the small wooden cross that the funeral home had distributed. Once we entered, he finally began to speak. "Mom, who was that woman?" I was truthful. I mentioned that she was someone your dad was familiar with. A person who believed she held significance in his life. He gazed out the window for a moment, then inquired, "Did she hurt you?" Stopped to reflect on the question. How can you explain betrayal to a 10-year-old in a way that doesn't make them feel like they come from something flawed? "She didn't harm me," I stated at last. "He certainly did. However, I won't hold on to that indefinitely," and you won't either." He nodded as if he grasped more than I had anticipated, then leaned against my arm while we drove home. That evening, the house had an unusual atmosphere. Not due to the reduced noise. Nathan hadn't exactly filled it with laughter near the end, but for the first time, the silence felt more bearable. It was the vastness of space. It belonged to me. I entered our bedroom. "No, it's my bedroom now." I stood at the doorway, absorbing the sight of the bed we once shared, the nightstand he never bothered to clean, the drawer where I discovered the receipts that initiated the unraveling. It no longer felt like a war zone. Simply a room. I opened the closet and retrieved the final suit he wore. The one from our anniversary dinner a year prior to his passing. I traced my fingers along the lapel, attempting to recall the sensation of loving him without doubting each word, every late-night call, every faraway gaze. That version of him was real at one point, but loving someone doesn't equate to truly understanding them, and I never really knew Nathan. Only after it was too late. I placed the suit on the bed, folded it with care, and put it in a donation box. I no longer required it. I had no use for any of it. The following morning, I prepared pancakes for Lucas. As we enjoyed our meal, I played some music. He chuckled for the first time in weeks, and I came to a realization. I had moved on from mourning Nathan. I was grieving for myself. The version of me that thought love needed to be deserved. That loyalty required silence. The measure of strength lay in the ability to withstand pain without showing any signs of discomfort. However, that version of myself had disappeared. I don't feel any anger towards Delilah. Not any longer. In her own unique manner, I believe she had feelings for him. Or perhaps she simply enjoyed being selected in the same way I once did. However, affection founded on deception is not true love. It's about enduring. And I'm finished with just getting by. I desire to experience life fully. Nathan believed that revealing the truth would cause her pain. Indeed, it happened. However, it liberated me. Perhaps, in the most convoluted manner, that was his ultimate offering. It's often said that funerals serve the needs of those who remain, rather than those who have passed on. I once believed that signified an ending. I believe it signifies choice. You have the power to decide the kind of person you will become once the challenging chapters of your story have concluded. You have the power to choose if the pain will confine you or propel you forward. I opted for the latter. Standing by the window that morning, coffee in hand, I watched Lucas chase the dog in the backyard and came to the realization that I wasn't waiting for anything anymore. It's not an apology. No answers. No one to rescue me from the sorrow. I saved myself. If this story resonated with you or prompted new thoughts on love, betrayal, or strength, feel free to share it. Others may benefit from hearing it as well. Share your thoughts in the comments about what you would have done if you were in my situation. Would you have kept quiet? Or might you have spoken up that day? If you're looking for more authentic stories that resonate profoundly, touching on heartbreak, healing, and all that lies in between, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If this resonated with you, be sure to hit that like button, and remember to activate the notification bell so you stay updated on what's coming next. I appreciate you taking the time to hear my perspective. Catch you in the next one.